Hi there, welcome back. This is part 2 of my Obanai Iguro Crochet Demon Slayer Cosplay series. Lord, that's a mouthful to say. So, as I said, this is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, I would suggest you have a look. You don't have to, obviously. Free will and all that. But yeah, but in the first part I made this, which you might be able to see, which is his howdy. And now for this part I'm going to do his Demon Slayer uniform. But I'm going to do it a bit differently, because as much as I love the baggy pants look, that's just not what I want to wear for this cosplay. So I'm kind of going to do a combination of his like uniform, like the top and the trousers, with Mitsuri Konroji's kind of look for her uniform. Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing a long sleeve top, or a navy long sleeve.
So I know I said I was going to do a long sleeve top, but actually I decided further along that I didn't want to add the sleeves. So just a heads up that, yeah, there are no sleeves for this top.
Top with some white detailing and gold buttons, and then there's going to be like a little cutout detail, almost like Mitsuri has in her uniform. And I'm gonna be doing a navy pleated skirt like Mitsuri's. As always, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll see if I can help. I don't know how good I am at explaining these things. Yeah. So, in my little basket of goodies, I have, oh, that's not meant to be there. I have the white leftover cotton yarn from the Howry, and the, what are you? Yeah, this white iridescent thread cone that's just been rolling around, so it's all tangled up. Yeah, and then I'm using navy twister solid cotton blend. I think that's what you are. Yeah, cotton blend yarn. And then for the thread, I'm doing this bright blue, mostly because I didn't have a navy. But yeah, so I have 2 of these. I accidentally threw away the labels, so that's why it doesn't have a label. But yeah, I'll link it in the description thing there. So I've got 2 of those so far. I don't know if I'll need more. I'm not very good at like actually working out how much I need. I just kind of go for the vibes. Like, how does it feel? How many do I feel that I'll need? I promise I'm not. Yeah. And then I have 3 of these so far. I might need to get more. I don't know. As always, future me will let you know if I needed more. I always complain about not having any pockets in my clothing, like this jumpsuit that I'm wearing. It's amazing, but it doesn't have any pockets. And one of my biggest failings as a designer is I always forget to add pockets. Not this time. But anyway, I'm gonna add little pockets into the skirt. I'll show you what I mean, but I had these leftover magnetic poppets that I used for my A-level coursework now 2 years ago. Oh god, that was a long time ago. Anyway, but they're really cool and you can like glue them on or sew them on. I'll see if I can find the link for them, because I bought them a while ago, so no promises, but I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, but these are really good. You can use like buttons or normal poppers. I like how these look, because it also how do I explain this? It won't make it too bulky, and also, like, you can see they're just really easy to like pull apart. Sometimes buttons and poppers can be like really difficult, and because it's crochet, I don't want to be tugging on it too much, trying to get it open. So yeah, and then, well, all the Demon Slayers, well, all the uniforms have buttons going down the middle, and Obanai's happen to be gold, which, great look. I mean, I'm more of a silver girl, but love a bit of gold. So should I get these to the camera? I found these little gold buttons. They kind of resemble like the pattern that they have on the buttons, which I think is the Demon Slayer core symbol. I don't know. But I thought these worked really well for him because they also remind me of snakes. I found these in a local fabric shop, and I asked my friends to help me look for them because they just have this massive wall of buttons, and I was like, it's gonna take me a while to try find the right button, because I didn't mind if I had to get like a different color and spray painted and stuff. That wasn't an issue. So I just said to them, find something that like makes you think of a snake, and they kept bringing me like caterpillar shaped ones. I was like, thank you, that's not what I meant, but thank you. But yeah, I think these really do give like snake vibes. And I've just realised they kind of look like the swirl buttons that the sorcerers wear in Jujutsu Kaisen, if you know what I'm on about. Yeah. But yes, but this is a Demon Slayer project, not a Jujutsu Kaisen project. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got to work with for now. Future me here. Surprise, surprise, I did end up needing more. I ended up needing 3 more balls of navy yarn, double what I thought I did, and I ended up needing a second blue thread cone. So yeah, otherwise everything else is the same. To do the skirt is actually going to be really simple. It's just going to look and sound really complicated, but it's quite an easy thing because once you get in the rhythm of it, it's fine. So to do it, there's only really 2 main measurements you need. You need to know your waist. If you want it to be low waist, measure your low waist. If you want it to be high waisted, measure high waist. If you want it natural waist, measure your natural waist. It's kind of up to you. You can kind of customize it as you want. And then the other measurement you need to know is how long you want it to be. So you kind of want to measure from where you mark your waist and then measure as far as you want. So for me, my waist is 68 centimeters and I want it to be 40 centimeters long. And that measurement is without the waistband that we're going to do, because that you can also kind of, if you want a chunky waistband, if you want a thin waistband, you can do as you will, but we're not going to include that in the initial measurements. That comes later. And so because it's a pleated skirt, you're going to need to fold it over a few times. So you can crochet from the top down, and then crochet it as like wide as you need it for the pleats, and then like go back and fold the pleats. But I'm gonna do it a bit differently because I want to make sure that it definitely fits as I'm doing and I can get it on and off. Yeah, that's just how I prefer to do it. And also you can I can get an idea right at the start if I don't like how the pleats look, because if you do it the long panel way, once you've done it, you can't change it. That's as long as it's going to be. That's how big the pleats are going to be. But if I do it this way and basically crochet along, and then when I finish enough section to make a pleat, I fold the pleat, mark it with a stitch marker, and then carry on. And then I can kind of get an idea of how it's going to look, and if I like the look of it, and if I want to adjust it or anything. That's what I'm going to do, but you can do it any way you really want to. So yeah, so I worked out, I don't want my pleats to be too big and I don't want them to be too small. Yeah, So you can use a calculator, or if you're good at maths you can use maths, but I basically just googled factors of 68, which is my waist measurement, and then kind of chose one of those numbers that I thought would be a good pleat size. And so 4 goes into 68, and I just thought that was kind of the right size of the pleats that I wanted. Yeah, and so in total that's going to give me roughly 17 pleats around. I might add an extra one if, like, later on, if I just want to make sure that it'll definitely fit over like my hips and stuff, because then when you add the waistband you can kind of cinch it a bit and it'll still fit and it'll look great, and it won't be like too big or chunky. The first step is to chain enough chains for the length of the skirt that you want. So my chains need to be about 40 centimeters, and I'm gonna use a 3mm hook. So yeah. Okay, I've done 92 chains. So what you want to do is add an extra 3 chains. Add an extra 3 chains, and then that will be that'll count as another stitch, another double crochet stitch, because we're gonna double crochet across. Sorry, that was a terrible explanation. I am sorry. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then just double crochet across. Done the first row. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep crocheting double crochet rows until I reach 4 centimeters, and then I'll note down how many rows that is. You need to do that, like repeat that at least 3 times. It's probably easier if you do 4, but yeah, and just repeat that, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna like fold over and mark the pleats. Oh, and just a quick note, some tutorials count the chain 3 as a stitch and some don't. For what I'm doing, I'm counting it as a stitch. So for me, 5 double crochet rows is about 4 centimeters. So what I'm gonna do is every 5 rows I'm gonna mark with a stitch marker, and then when I get about 20 rows I'm gonna come back and like mark the first pleat. Okay, I've done the first 20 rows, so now I'm gonna mark out the first pleat, and to do that I'm just gonna mark up the stitch markers with the edges. So it's kind of like that. So you should have like a sandwich of three layers. And then I'm gonna take a stitch marker and just put it right in the middle there, and then take the ones from either side and put those all the way through the 3 layers, and then you take out any excess that you have. And then there you go. That is the first pleat. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to see. But yeah, and then basically just keep doing that until you reach the length and the number of pleats that you want. So I'm gonna do, I think 17 or 18, I'm not sure yet, but I'll keep you updated as I go along. Okay, I finished doing all the pleats for the skirt finally. I did about 16 in total, and then I just single crocheted along the top to kind of hold them in place. I also marked out every 20-ish stitches along the top, so I have a rough idea of how many I need for the waistband. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to try steam the pleats in place a bit to try give them a bit more of the definitive like pleat shape. You could iron it, you could like, you don't have to steam it. I'm just using it because I have one and it's quick and easy. You could also block it, wet block it with like a foam mat and pins. That will take longer to dry obviously, so I just want to try this way first and see if it's gonna work. Okay, so I've just steamed it and I'm actually really shocked. They have held their shape a bit. I'll probably steam it again when I wear it, and every time I wear it, just to like really keep the pleats, you know, nice and sharp. But I'm actually surprised by like how good it looks. I didn't think it was gonna work, and it has. Okay, so to do the waistband, I'm going to do 14 single crochets by about 200 rows, give or take, and then I will sew that onto the main skirt with the pleats, add the pockets, and then that's it, it's done. Okay, to do the pockets, I'm going to do 26 double crochets, including a chain 3 at each end, and then I'm gonna do that for 44 rows, and then I'll fold that in half and single crochet along the edges, kind of like this, which gives me like a nice sized pocket that'll fit like my phone and my wallet in, and I will do that twice. Okay, so once I finish making the waistband and the 2 pockets, I slip stitched the 2 ends of the waistband together and then roughly marked out every 20 rows to correspond with the 20 stitch markers on the top of the skirt. And then from there, I marked out where I wanted the pockets to go and sewed one side to the skirt itself. Then I pinned the waistband to the skirt and sewed all the way around until you get to the pockets, where you don't sew the waistband to the skirt, you sew it to the other side of the pocket so that you can kind of open it and, you know, put stuff in the pocket and then close it again. And then once I did that, I sewed the 2 sides of the skirt together down the back and then just sewed in all the loose ends.
And then I didn't do this on camera, but I used hot glue to attach the magnets to the inside of the pockets. Fair warning, if you do that, the hot glue will sometimes seep through the gap of the crochet and burn your fingers. I have learned that the hard way. When I tried it on, I found that after a while the waistband would stretch and start to slide down. So what I did is I tacked it to the shorts I wore underneath in 4 places, so the front, the back, and either side. If you don't know what tacking is, it's just when you sew a small stitch through multiple layers of fabric to keep it together. So in this case, I just did it through the waistband of both the shorts and the skirt. And then that kept it all really nicely in place. And especially when you start putting things in the pockets, it can kind of weigh it down, and this just really kept it high up. And then once all of that was done, the final step was to do the belt loops for the belt that I'm going to make in the next video. And to do that, I marked out where I wanted the belt loops to be, and then I attached the yarn to the bottom of the waistband and not single crocheted, I chained 10. I did 10 chains, and then slip stitched it to the top of the waistband, and then that creates a little loop that the belt could fit through. And then I repeated that on all the points that I wanted belt loops, and then I sewed in all the little ends. And this actually works out really well, because then once I add the belt, because without the belt the skirt will sit a little bit weird, it'll look a little weird, but with the belt it'll sit perfectly and it'll look perfect.
For the top for Obanai's Demon Slayer uniform, I'm going to be following Chenda DIY's tutorial for her crochet crop t-shirt, and it's pretty much going to be pretty much the same as what she does in her tutorial. I'm going to be doing it a bit differently because I want there to be a cutout. It's going to be a bit of an illusion. Like, the top's going to be a bit of an illusion because it's going to look like the buttons are functional and it's like a button-up shirt, but it's not actually going to be. It's going to be more of like a crop top kind of situation which is annoying. Well, like, I know when I have like clothing, I'm like, why isn't any of the pockets or anything functional? But it's just easier for this top that they're not, so that I can get the fitted shape and I can get the cutout, and I don't have like the weird gaps that you sometimes get with buttons. So yeah, I'm pretty much going to be doing almost exactly what she does. I'll tell you when I differentiate from how she does it. But I'm not gonna basically copy her tutorial. I'm not gonna steal her work and like market it as my own. That's kind of, I do some questionable things when I make stuff. That is not one of them. I don't steal other people's design or work or take credit for what they've done. So yeah, so I would suggest having her video on as well. It's really easy to follow. I've used a few of her tutorials for other things I've made, and she seems like a really sweet person. To start is I'm going to do more chains than she does. So she does a total of 100, so kind of each side has like 25. So you have 25 at the back, 25 at the side, 25 at the front, 25 at the other side. I'm going to be doing a bit more because I'm using a slightly thinner yarn with a smaller hook. So she uses, I think it's 4-ply yarn and a 4mm hook. And then towards the end she like sizes down and uses a 3mm hook. I'm gonna kind of start with a 3mm hook and then size down to either a 2.5 or a 2mm hook. I haven't really thought about it too much at this point, because that's like more towards the end of it. But yeah.
Once again, I have not stayed true to my word because I didn't actually size down with the way I did it. I just added decreases instead. So I'll show you how that worked later on.
So instead of doing 25 for each side and having a total of 100, I'm going to do 30 for each side, which gives me a total of 120. I recommend as you're going along to mark with the with stitch markers when you get to like a stitch you need to mark. Really bad, my apologies. But let me just show you. So to start, I'm gonna do 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then I'll just put a stitch marker there so I know that that's where that corner is. And then for the rest of them, you put a stitch marker at stitch 30 or whatever your stitch is, but you start with half of your measurement, because that will be either the back, well, for her video it's the back. I think I'm gonna keep it as the front for mine, just so I can like easily kind of figure out how I'm gonna, or like kind of easily keep an eye on the cutout that's gonna be like here-ish. So just keep kind of following along with her video, hopefully mine of course, and I'll kind of come back once I start doing the cutout.
Okay, I've done 10 rows so far. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start decreasing at the start and end of every row for the next 12 rows. And instead of slip stitching it back at the beginning, I'm just going to chain 2 and turn for the next 12 rows as well to start creating the gap.
Okay, I've gotten to 20 rows so far and I've done 10 rows of decreases. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna connect 2 of the sides together to create the sleeves like she does in her video, and then I'm gonna do 2 more rows of decreases. Okay, I've done the 12 rows of decreases and I've connected the sides. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 10 normal rows and just go across from one side to the other, and then in every other row I'm going to decrease on this side as well, just to kind of start to taper in the shape a bit. Okay, so I've finished the middle bit of the cutout. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do another 12 more rows and add increases at the start and end of each row to kind of start tapering it back in. What I noticed when I tried it on is that because I kept kind of increasing it when I was starting from the collar down, to get it to meet under my arms, and to make sure it wasn't too tight or uncomfortable, I basically just did it a bit bigger than I need it to be. So now when I'm adding the decreases to try like bring it in, instead of it kind of falling like nice and straight lines, it's kind of starting to do this, which I don't mind. I think that'll be a good look. And if I absolutely hate it, I can add like a corset in the back or something. Or I've seen tricks where you like cut bits out and sew it in, and yeah, there's ways around it if I end up hating it. But I think it'll actually be better for me long term, because it just won't be as tight on my skin, so I won't get so overwhelmed and like flustered as I usually would be. And what I'm also gonna do is I've been decreasing the body on either side,
And now what I'm gonna do is I just placed an additional 3 stitch markers in the back, and I'm gonna start decreasing those on every other row as well. Okay, I finished the cutout now, so I just reconnected it back to the other side, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the last part of the top of the bodice, and just keep going in the round like I was at the start, until I'm at a length that I'm happy with, where it sits. And then every other row, like I've been doing before, I'm gonna decrease with where all the stitch markers are, just to kind of help taper it in a bit. And then I added 2 on each side of the front, roughly in the middle, to kind of help keep the shape even throughout the whole garment. And then I'll also be decreasing in the center as well. Okay, the bodice is done now, so I'm going to move on to doing the collar and the white stripe down the top of this bit. Okay, and to do the collar, I think I'm just gonna do 3 or 4 rows of half double crochet along this edge in the navy, and then do a row of white, and then surface crochet down here. Do I want to do it like that? No, ignore me. So yeah, to start the collar, I'm gonna do yes, I'm gonna do 4 rows of half double crochet along this edge. Okay, for the next step for the collar, I'm going to do 2 rows of single crochet in the white. Okay, I know I said I was gonna do 2 rows of white, but I think I'm actually gonna do 3 because I want the border to be a bit chunkier. Okay, that's the white border done now, so I'm gonna do the stripy bit, the stripes down here, and to do this I'm going to do 2 rows of, I'm gonna do strips that I'll sew on to here, and I'm gonna do 2 rows of single crochet, and then just add an increase at the end of the second row on one end to kind of match the dip that starts here, and then I'll do that twice for either side. Okay, so now the next step is to sew in all the ends on both these bits and on the top, and then attach these to the base of the collar. Okay, now that everything is sewed on and the ends are all sewn in, the last step is to add the buttons. So I'm gonna spread them evenly along the left side here, and then I think I'll do 1 or 2 at the bottom as well. Yeah, it's nearly done. And that's it. It's done. Oh, yay! Okay, this is the final look for Obanai Igoro's Demon Slayer uniform. I love this so much. I love how swishy the skirt is. I love how the top looks, how it sits. I'm actually really happy that I didn't end up doing sleeves. I just feel like it looks so much better like this, and I just feel so much more comfortable. And like the little buttons and just the cutout and everything, and the pockets. It has functioning pockets, and we've got the little belt loops, and I can't even tell you how much I love this. Yeah, that is it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye. And then are they in here? No, they're not in here. Where did I put you? That's a little bit of a dilemma. I don't know where to put them.
Oh, that's where they are. Oh, can you tell it's been a long day? It's not even been a long day. I was only up for 3 hours. It's exhausting. Anyway. Hey, just no. While I'm filming this, I'm wearing leggings, but in the actual costume I'm not going to, but while I'm filming this, I'm wearing leggings because it is so fucking cold.